Okie dokie. Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the studio here with me tonight. Today is day, where are we? Day 13. Oh, so it's the second last day of the 2-week challenge. And on the agenda for today is earrings. So you might recognize some of these pieces on the table here. These are mostly things that I have made throughout this challenge, and I will show you how I put them together to make finished earrings. And then I also just have some examples of earrings that I've made and some findings, and we'll chat about each of these in turn. So earrings are fairly simple to do. I'm not going to actually start one from scratch with the clay tonight, because if you've watched any of the other evenings, or you know, if you have clay pieces that you want to turn into earrings or whatever, you know, you can just use those, or you can just go back and watch any of the videos that I've done previously. So there won't be much actual clay work tonight, but I will show you how to put together some of these earrings. So some of the examples that I have here, these ones are on studs, and the studs have a little loop on them, so they're really quite dainty and quite pretty. I really like these. But of course, you know, the type of finding that you use depends on the style of earring that you're going for. So if you want something that's quite small and dainty, you know, you need to use a finding that matches that. And then I have these flower ones, and on these ones you can't actually see the earring at all. Well, the metal part of the earring, it's completely embedded inside my little flower bit here. So there's those, and then these are made in much the same way. Completely, the finding has been completely embedded. So all of those are pretty much the same. And then these little orchids, they're actually on a disc, and then I've just attached a little hook to them. So, you know, if you have things like that, that's absolutely fine to use as well. These ones here, they have that same little bezel, but it's actually a part of the stud. So, you know, that's an option as well. So these ones work as studs would, only nothing hanging from them. Okay, and then there's of course the standard little shepherd's crook, or whatever you want to call it, just the little hooks, earring hooks. Okay, so there are tons of different types of findings that you could find. You know, and they're fairly cheap. They're fairly easy to come by. Just be mindful of the type of material that they're made of. These are those little studs with the little hooks, the little circles on the bottom of them. And then the ones that I like to make studs with, similar to these, are these little flat ones. So they come in various sizes, not siders. And just get the ones that you need for whatever project you're working on. So for you know, some of the smaller earrings that I've made, like these little triangles, I would have used like a medium-sized earring. I don't know what these are called. This thing, the little disc. And then for something that's a bit bigger, you know, if I wanted to put these on studs, for example, I'd use something that has more bulk to it. And then I don't have them here, but I have really tiny little birdie earrings, and you know, for those I could either use the medium one or I could use the teeny tiny one. So another thing to keep in mind when you're deciding which of these you're going to use is the weight of the earrings. So if the clay is quite heavy, like these are super light, and there isn't anything hanging from them, so you know, it's, and the pin is centered in the middle of the flower, so there isn't too much weight or strain or anything on the little metal plate on the inside. Because if there is, so if I wanted to sort of add a little dangly bit with little crystals or whatever, I'd need to get something a bit more sturdy in there rather than you know, this tiny little disc. I hope that made sense. I feel like I'm just babbling again tonight. Okay, so first things first, we'll do the really simple ones, which is this little hook earring. I have a little pair here. I think I made these with the Powders and Pastels evening, which would have been day 7, I think. So if you're interested in seeing how I made these, just go have a look at that. But the first thing I'll need is these don't actually have a hole in them. So I'll just have to make a little hole in them and then put my findings on. So it's really pretty straightforward. The only thing to be mindful of when putting a hole in this is how much clay is around the hole. So if you put the hole too close to the edge, then the structural integrity of the piece can be compromised. So the earring, the clay around the top of the hole can actually break off, and then, you know, there's not much you can do to recover from a break like that. So if you're wanting to experiment, just don't do it on your customers if you are selling your pieces. So I just have a little hand drill here with a fairly tiny little drill bit on the end. I usually use this one first to make the sort of initial hole, and then I'll use a thicker drill bit to just widen that. So just make sure that they're kind of in the same spot. These little drills are well, I found this one was a gift, but the other one that I have that I use, which is this one here, I found on eBay, and this one was only, you know, $3 or $4 at the most, and it came with a whole bunch of little drill bits as well. So, you know, it's not going to break the bank if you invest in one of these. Oopsies. And they certainly make life easier. Okay. So now I have a little hole in these, and all I'll need is a jump ring. Just be mindful that every time you add a jump ring, your piece is going to turn 90 degrees. So I'll have to just, you know, keep that in mind when I'm adding. So if you wanted to add like a little crystal first, and then put the clay on it, that would be absolutely fine. But I'll just need to be aware that if the bead has to face a certain way, that it could be it could need an extra jump ring. So just close this. Oopsies. Okay, so if I were to string this onto something, the thing would go through the jump ring this way and it would hang perfectly. So, but because, see how this one is straight down? So I will need another jump ring in the middle, otherwise my earring would hang. You know, if I put this, attached it there, then it would hang sort of sideways, which is not really ideal. It's not what I'm going for here. I'm just going to find some more jump rings. Sure. Oopsie. Over here, and for just such an occasion, I have, there they are. I have really small jump rings so that they're sort of obscure and you can't really tell that they're in the way. Oopsies. Okay, so I'm just going to add this one in between the two. I might have put that on the wrong way. Oopsie. Yep, I put it on backwards. That's okay. I'll sort that out later. So as you can see now, when this is hooked into your ear, oops, the earring is facing the right way. I'll put the other one together without the second jump ring, just to show you the difference. Hang this off of something so that you can see. So, okay, that's not going to work. I do have a pen that would be perfect. Okay, so as you can see, as you can see, it's now hanging sort of in the wrong direction. Whereas this one here, which has that extra little jump ring. Oh, gee. Why is nothing working? Okay, it is hanging backwards, but that's because I put it in the wrong way. So this one is hanging down this way, and this one is hanging down straight. So I will flip the hooky part around off camera, and then I'll fix this one. So just add an extra little jump ring, unless you have you know, like this one here has actually got a little loopy embedded into this clay here. So this one's clearer. So I didn't need a second jump ring for that, because this this loop was already facing the correct way. So, okay, so I hope that made sense. If I confused you or if you didn't understand what I was saying, please just let me know in the comments, or just send me a message. Okay, so these little sculpted flowers that we made on, that was quite early on, I think it was like the second or the third day. I like to put these either in these bezels, so putting these, adding some extra clay and some liquid clay, and then actually just pressing this onto the bezel, and then that's pretty much all there is to it. Or the other way that I do it is I sometimes put the studs. So I'll put one of these guys, and I'll actually cover it completely with clay so that it's in there pretty solidly. So I think for these blue ones, I am actually going to put them on these earrings here. Just going to grab some clay. So liquid clay is a fantastic addition to your stash. It just helps make sure that raw clay and baked clay stick together the way you want them to. So there are a couple of different options. All of them work really, really well. There's the Kato. The Kato actually has a fantastic range of coloured liquid clay, and Sculpey's just come out with a couple of coloured ones too. But this one is opaque white, so there's the name down the bottom. If you want something that's clear, you can get this in the smaller bottle too, but I use it quite a lot. So the Kato liquid clay is absolutely fantastic. It's one of my favorites to use. And then there's the Fimo liquid clay, which is kind of a little bit cloudy, but it works as well. If that's what you have on hand, then use that. And then the last one is, which one is this one? This is Bacon Bond, but you can also just use the liquid Sculpey. So Bacon Bond is designed specifically to bond baked pieces of clay together. I don't really know if there is, or I haven't found much of a difference between Bacon Bond and just the liquid Sculpey. So if someone knows what the difference is, please let me know. So I think I will use the Kato, and I'm just actually going to add a drop onto this. No, I need more clay first. So I'm actually putting a bit too much clay, but I'm covering the whole base of this bezel. And then I will add a drop of liquid clay. And so before I bake these, I actually just cut this straight, so it's a nice flat surface. If yours isn't, or if you have something that's sort of curved or rounded, I suggest just either sanding it or cutting it straight. And I'm actually just pushing this into the clay. And I'm just removing the excess because it's squished out around the edges, obviously, because it had nowhere else to go. My fingers can't actually get in there. So. And that's that. I'll just bake this as it is, and that will be a finished earring. I mean, if you had just the bezel separately, which you can actually buy and they're great to use, then you know you could attach the bezel to any of the earring findings as long as there's a hook on it. So you could use these, for example, the little hooks, or any of the others really. So that's what I did with these ones. Okay, so that's one. I'll just quickly do the other one. But as you can see, it doesn't really take very long to do any of these things, and you know, you don't really need much brain power, really. I don't know what else to call it. You don't need much in the way of creative flair or any of those sorts of things. It's just basically gluing things together. So you want to make sure that you clean this up quite nicely, because well, Kato, the clear one, bakes clear, so it's not that noticeable, but it is shinier than just raw baked clay. Baked clay that has no other surface treatments on it. But also, if you're going to want it to look nice, you just want to make sure that you clean that up a bit. I will actually have to use one of my wipes. And that's that. So there's another pair down, not down, done. Okay, and I think the last one would be to just embed these flatbacks into the clay. Here it is. So I have a couple of pairs of earrings here that I'll get to at some stage, but I'm notoriously slack at actually finishing anything. I usually just put things in a big pile and leave them. Right. Okay, so I think I will do these ones here, and they're actually going to be the top half of the set. So I'm going to be wanting to put a hole in the bottom of this heart, through which I'll put a jump ring to attach this piece, so that this is the stud and this will be the hanging part. I'm really glad that you're finding some inspiration or some information, useful information in the videos, Jade. But I will still be going live, and I will still be doing some demonstrations and things, but it won't be a daily thing. I'll have to cut back a bit and just do it maybe once a week. So if there's anything in particular that you'd like me to show you, or anything that you want me to demonstrate, just let me know. Okie dokie. So the first thing I want to do, because I need to make sure that I don't cover the hole, or that my little flat back isn't in the way of the hole, because obviously I can't drill through metal. So this one, for example, would be way too big because there's no space for me to put a hole while still having the metal round disc completely covered with clay, which is the goal here. So you'll have to decide where exactly you want the stud to sit. So if I put it on one of the sides, for example, it's more likely that my earring would sort of sit off center like this, with this being the top rather than straight up. But you know, those are all decisions that you probably made while you were designing your clay pieces. So okay, so I'm just going to put a hole in this. Once again, keeping in mind that I need to make sure that there is enough clay all the way around the hole to support the jump ring. I won't worry about making the holes much bigger at this point. I just need a sort of rough guide as to where it's going to go. Okay. So I think I'll use this pink clay. Yep. And I'm actually just going to roll this out on in my pasta machine, and this is on a 7 on my pasta machine. 9 is the thinnest, so 7 is, it's not very thin, but it's also not thick at all. I'm actually going to grab the cutter, my lovely jelly cutter that I use to make this piece. I'm going to cut out some pieces. Thank you. And then so I've decided that I want these to be fairly centered. Oopsie. So about there. Just going to put this down. And then I'm actually going to make sure that I put this, oh, well, I'm not going to make sure, I'm going to put this over the top of that and sort of line them up, but I need to make sure that I get the hole in the right spot. So it's about there. Okay. So now I'm just, you can of course put some Bacon Bond or liquid clay in between these two layers, but I don't always find it necessary. And then I'm just actually going to pull this. You want to make sure that there's no air trapped in between the clay here. If you're worried about fingerprints, I'm generally not. I think it's quite cool actually to see another artist's or another person's fingerprints. I mean, to a certain extent, of course, on your art or on your piece or whatever. Just proves that it wasn't, you know, mass-produced, or that it came out of a mold or out of a machine. But if you are worried about fingerprints, sorry, I lost my train of thought, using a bit of stuff, cornstarch, baby powder, or even just latex gloves will, you know, take care of fingerprints. Okay, so there's that, and now we have a lovely hard stud. But because I want to put a hole through there, I'm just gonna find my needle tool, which is currently missing in action. Oh, here it is. And I'm just going to poke this hole back through there. Okay, so I'm not worried about making sure that the hole is the same thickness through. All I'm worried about really is making sure that that it's there, because I can always use my little drill and just make it a bit wider if I need to. So that's ready for the oven now, and I actually bake them on this. This is just a piece of balsa wood. I picked this up from, I actually think I got this from Spotlight, and you know, it's a soft craft wood. They use it to make like model airplanes and that sort of thing, and I have just actually poked a bunch of holes in it. So I put the stud part of my earring just in there, just to make sure that it's, you know, it's stable. It won't you know, it won't fall off or fall out or move or anything, and that way I'm not compromising the surface of my earring, which is the important part. That's the part people will see. But it also just I don't know, I've lost my train of thought again. I'm very scatterbrained these last couple of days, and I'm sorry about that. So I mean, I'll just do the same with the other earring, but that's really all there is to it. And I mean, it's a similar process for any of these other ones. I'll just use the same cutter that I used for these birdies to put these little discs on the back of them. Some people use glue, and that's absolutely fine. If you prefer to use glue, then, you know, gluing these findings onto the back of your clay, some people find that it works. I have yet to find a glue that works for me. I have tried a few different ones, and I wasn't happy with the results. I wasn't happy with the process. Like, it was just such a mess, and just ugh. None of it worked for me. So find what works for you and go with that. Oh, I didn't put the hole. That was silly. better. And there we go. And then just to finish off this pair, which I'm going to need my other jelly cutters for these little earring shapes. Yep. That's the right ones. I'll use that same pink clay. Now this backing is just so that it matches the top part of my earring. So I'm not worried about making it really thick or anything like that. And quite frankly, you don't want it to be too thick on earrings because the thicker the clay, or the more clay you have, obviously, the heavier the earrings become. And heavy earrings is not really fun to wear. I mean, unless of course that's what you're going for, in which case put as much clay on it as you like. Okay, so I can either put a pilot hole in this now, or I can do it once both layers are baked, but I think I'll do it now. And of course, because these earrings have, I made them with the alcohol ink, so I will have to put something over the top of these, some sort of finish, and I'll most likely end up going with resin, just to make sure that the alcohol ink doesn't get damaged or rubbed off or anything like that over time. So I'll line these up. And I'm actually pressing the raw clay out far enough so that it almost comes around all the way to the top of my veneer here, just to have a nice finish on this. I don't like the look of the two layers that are separate colors. You know, if you're happy with that, then leave it like that. That's absolutely fine. But I did it here, and I've never been happy with the way it looks. It just looks unfinished to me. But that's a personal preference. You know, some people don't mind it. What I do sometimes do, just because I don't like to finish things because I find it boring, is I'll have a day that I'll set aside and just say to myself, okay, today is a day for finishing stuff. And I will actually just put on either a movie or some music or something, and I'll just slowly go through my box of unfinished things. and just one by one do it, because really this is not very creative, it's just tedious and boring. Okay. So again, you can just wipe off the fingerprints, just you know, using gentle pressure. You can get rid of the fingerprints if you wanted to, or you can use, you know, you can press this onto the little filter sponge or something to create that sort of grainy texture. I'm just going to leave it like this, I think. But I will put in my little stamp. So this is just a little stamp that I made that has my initials on it. Just because it's cool to see my name on stuff. So it's just an A and a C and an L. So that's that. I mean, you don't need to watch me do the other one. It's super boring. But I think that's all there is to it. If you had any questions or anything, as always, please feel free to send me a message or leave a comment on any of the videos, and I will get back to you. With regard to tomorrow, which is the theme for tomorrow is pens, I actually have an engagement that I have to go to, so I won't actually be home for the broadcast. So I will do that on the next day. So sorry about that, everyone. Other than that, that's pretty much it. So if you have been using any of the techniques that I've demonstrated or anything like that, remember to share it on social media with the hashtag Clayday with Anna, or alternatively just send it to me privately if you don't want to share it with the world, and I will metaphorically put everyone's name in a hat, and I will pick 3 names out of everyone who participates to win one of the things that I have made throughout this process. I mean, the choice would be up to you what you want, but you know, it's a fantastic opportunity to have a look at something that someone else has made if you wanted to do that. So until, well, Monday, I hope you all had a fabulous Australia Day wherever you are, and I will see you then. Bye.